Welcome everyone on panel and to those joining us from around the globe for Global Ed SS Chat. I'm Anahit, a grade 12 student from Ontario, Canada, and I'm looking forward to our topic today. We will be discussing how to protect ourselves online. So just an overview of the Global Ed SS Chat. We are a student-led Twitter chat that connects K-12 students around the world to discuss topics and questions related to character, education, social justice, and citizenship. Hashtag Global Ed SS Chat creates opportunities for students to network with others, gain perspective, build relationships with new learning partners in a literacy-rich learning environment, as well as experience social media as a powerful platform for learning and establishing a positive digital footprint. Thank you for joining us. So I'll pass it on to Garvey, who will be explaining I'll be passing it on to Maddie, who will be explaining how to use our back channels to get involved in the conversation.
Well, actually, it's me this time, so it's correct the first time.
Yeah.
It's okay. Okay, so if you're watching us on YouTube, you may sign in with the Google account and use the chat to comment or ask a question. If you have Twitter, follow the hashtag #GlobalEdSSChat to read the ideas, thoughts, and questions shared by others. We will use the Q1/A1 format. Use hashtag #GlobalEdSSChat to add your thinking and get involved in the conversation. Feel free to share your first name and where in the world you're joining us from today. If you have a question, we will bring them to the panel. Please remember that the audience for this chat is K through 12, so your comments and questions should be appropriate for all ages.
Thank you, Garvey. Now I would like to introduce our expert on panel, Matthew Johnson. Introduce yourself.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. My name is Matthew Johnson, and I'm the Director of Education for Media Smarts, Canada's Centre for Digital and Media Literacy. Media Smarts has research reports, lesson plans, tip sheets, guides, and educational video games that cover every aspect of media and digital literacy, from advertising and body image to privacy and cyberbullying.
Thank you. Thank you for that great introduction. We are so happy to have you here today. Now I just want the students to introduce themselves. So we'll start with Nishad.
Hi, I'm Nishad from Michigan, and one thing I really like to do, or my passion, is zoology, which is the study of animals.
Thank you, Nishad. Sam?
Hi, everybody. I'm Sam. I'm in grade 10. I've been with the chat since the beginning. I'm really interested in this topic we have today, and I'm ready to hear everybody's thoughts and opinions.
Ethan?
Hi, I'm Ethan. I'm in 11th grade, and I have a YouTube channel where I talk about different dancers and how they've impacted the dance world.
Hello, my name is Garvey. I'm a 7th grader, and I'm located in the DMV area.
Thank you. Madeline?
Hi, my name is Madeline. I'm in 6th grade. I live in Southeast Alaska on a small island, and I love to read.
Hasini?
Hi, I'm Hasni. I'm in 5th grade. I live in Michigan, and I really love to draw.
Awesome, thank you. And I'm Anahit. I'm a student in grade 12 in Ontario, Canada. I've been with the chat for over a year now, and I'm so excited to be leading this topic.
Not sure where Anahit went, but Maddie, if you could go through with our norms, please?
Okay, sure. Okay. We have approximately 30 minutes to discuss 3 questions. Please be mindful that this chat is open to students in K-12. Active participation from all classes is how we learn. All comments made during the chat should be positive and productive. We welcome diverse opinions. You may not agree with something has said, but we ask that when you challenge an idea that you respectfully disagree with the idea, not the individual person. Being respectful online includes using language that is inclusive and culturally appropriate.
Awesome, thank you. And Sam, if you could take a walk through the back channel comments.
Actually, I'll do that when we get into our questions. Ethan, if you want to introduce our first question.
Yeah, so our first question is, what actions do you take to keep yourself safe online, and what tools can you use?
I can start off. So, first, it's really, really basic, but you should never share your password with anyone for anything, or your like Wi-Fi password, anything, because you have less chance of getting hacked or your IP address getting leaked or anything like that. And tools that I use are like just also basic. It's kind of like using the safe search filter on Google Chrome. Also, if like you have a phone, looking for filters that can protect you from, I don't know, like things that are like non-kid friendly and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, to add on to Garvey, I really like to, whenever I search something that, and I think that there might be some inappropriate answers or things that I'm not really looking for, then I just like to type the word kid in it, because that'll often just like, filter out what answers are more for adults.
Yeah, that's a great way to get the answers that are more kid friendly or are better for that younger age group. A lot of other things you can do to keep yourself safe online is to use a password manager. Don't have the same password for every account. Sign up for a password manager. That way you only have to remember one password. There's lots of good ones out there like Dashlane, or I think NordVPN has one, LastPass. There's so many of them. You can just search up password manager and you'll get a ton of different results. Normally go for the better rated one, or one you've heard from friends and family that is a good, reliable password manager.
Just to add on, another feature you can access is on the top left corner, there is a lock. And if the lock is unlocked, that means that that website is not secure. So that is something that you should really take note of, because it can cause viruses to install themselves on your computer, or for your information to be compromised. I think digital safety and protecting yourself online is really something that you should take accountability for, and that you should go out and you should research, because while we are raising awareness for protecting ourselves online right here in this chat, there's also so many things that you can learn just by researching. One example is the Google Ads. You can block the Google Ads so it doesn't know as much information about you, and your information is not all out there on the internet.
Yeah, I agree. Another thing you can do is you can find a safe internet browser that can help you find more and better information. That's better than giving you multiple answers. It gives you one clear answer and not it's not blocking you from getting your information. So you should use a safe internet browser.
And to add on to what Anahit said, also don't click on links that you don't know what they lead to, or like the links on ads, because like Anahit said, sometimes they can lead to insecure websites or just inappropriate content that you're not really looking for.
For me, what I do to keep safe is I have securely on my computer, and all my social media stuff is monitored by my mom. Like, she has my social media account also on her phone, and it's linked. And whenever I post something, my mom is always there to help me. That way she knows it's not bad. So yeah, that's what I do to keep safe.
We had one thing on YouTube from Michael, who's also a teacher that helps us out. I think having a trusted adult in your life to help and guide as you're navigating being online is really similar to what Maddie said, and it's also similar to one of our third questions, which is great. Yes, you should definitely, if you're especially a younger person who's having to be on social media for some reason, for class or for anything, or if you're just browsing the web, it's always good to have an adult there, or an adult that knows what you're doing, just to know that you're being safe online and you're not releasing any information that you're not supposed to.
And before we go to the next question, I want to pass it off to Matthew.
You know, we've been hearing great things from everybody, and I really want to make sure that the adults in kids' lives see this conversation, because I think it's really important for us adults to realize that for you guys, so much of keeping safe, so much of what you want to do to make your online experience better is to help you avoid inappropriate content, because I think not a lot of adults, even parents, realize that actually is the top concern for young people when they're online in general, is avoiding inappropriate content. So I just want to echo everything that's been said. I do want to say a couple of other things that you can do. One of them in general is to improve your search skills. We've heard some good examples. One of the things you can do to improve your search skills is to search phrases in quotes. That's going to get you much more specific results, because it's going to find you those words in that order. The other thing that you can do is use the minus sign to exclude certain results. And that's good just for getting more relevant results. So if you find, for instance, that you're doing a search and you're getting a lot of results that are not connected to what you're looking for, you can find something about that and include that word. Let's say if you're looking for information about waffles, let's imagine there was a famous dog called Waffles the dog. If you didn't want to get results about Waffles the dog, you could put minus dog, and that's going to leave out any results that are about Waffles the dog. The other thing that I would really recommend is that whenever you're using something that has media that can play, like YouTube, obviously, Twitter, anything like that, turn off autoplay. You can do that in YouTube. What it does is it just prevents the next thing from playing automatically. So first of all, it means you don't get sucked into this cycle of watching video after video just because it plays automatically. But it does mean also that you get to look at what's up next, and you can decide whether or not that looks appropriate. It doesn't play all by itself.
Okay, so moving on to our second question is, do you think it's okay to create a false identity online? Why or why not?
I think it depends on how big the false identity is going to be, because let's say you are making a game. I mean, like, sometimes it can actually be good. Like, let's say a game requires you to put your gender in, or optionally, but you have to put something in, then you might actually want to lie about it so that like it can't really find out your gender. But I think the most important thing is seeing how much it would affect others. Like if it's let's say on a poll, like I know Costello had a poll for changing school schedules. That's actually gonna have an effect on schedules and a lot of other people. So you need to take regard on whether it's just for fun or whether your false identity is gonna affect others as well.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
really great point. I'm sorry. You can go.
Thank you. I think you should only create a false identity if it's necessary. So if you were to lie about your name, you could do that, but you shouldn't lie about things like when you were born. So because that's probably to find out what age you are. And if it doesn't ask your age, it's dependent on the date of birth and the year you were born in. So those are some things you shouldn't lie about. You shouldn't create a false identity about things about your name and where you're from. You could make a false identity, but like things like the date of your date of birth, or you could even lie about the date, but the year is just for seeing how if you're old enough to be on that specific browser or website.
That's a really great point. In my opinion, I don't think it's okay. Because maybe you're not ashamed of yourself, but in my eyes, if it's specific scenarios, I would think maybe that sometimes you're ashamed of your regular persona. So it's like for me, it's like taking a picture and putting a lot of filters on it because you don't like how you look. And like actually in some cases it's safer to make a fake persona, but of course you have to figure out what that situation would be. And yeah, everyone defines a dangerous situation differently, but in my eyes I don't think it's okay.
Yeah, it really, what I'm really hearing is that it all depends on the situation, which it does. If you go on YouTube and you look at your recommended page, how many of those YouTube channels are of an actual name of that person that's making that YouTube video? 9 times out of 10, it's probably a fake name. It's probably some username because they don't want to connect their personal life with their virtual life of making videos for kids or adults. So I see that as a time where, yeah, that's okay. Like, go ahead, make yourself a fake name, fake persona to kind of display yourself as, because that's sometimes you don't want people to know who you actually are. In the flip side, though, if you're making an account for something for school, something for your business, something business related, you should probably use your real name when it asks you for a name, or when it asks you for, if it asks you for a username, make it something that your teacher or your business or boss will recognize you as you. Sometimes you still don't want it to necessarily be your first and last name. But there are those times where it should be your actual name or your actual, just your first name. It doesn't need to be both your first and last name, because some people just aren't comfortable with that. And that's always okay to not include a last name. When an account asks you for first and last name and then username, if you're not comfortable adding your last name, do initials. That's fine. The business is not going to care. But yeah, just there's certain circumstances where it could either go each way.
Yeah, and I want to add on to that too. So I feel like creating a false identity depends on whether your virtual life is going to affect your real life. Sam said, if let's say you're creating a YouTube channel, let's say people don't like your YouTube channel, or like your YouTube channel can affect your personal real life. You can go in the news and let's say you're a little shy. So it's like you're showing it basically to the world, and maybe you don't want the world to know that you're making the videos, or in a way you just don't want to reveal too much. At the same time, if it is your personal identity, if it is going to affect the real world around you, then I feel like yeah, if it's gonna if you think it might affect you in a bad way, then it's important to think about like the circumstances. But if it's not really gonna affect your real life, then and not really anybody's real life, it just like, let's say you're playing a game and your character is gonna have like your name on it, then it's not really gonna affect anybody unless it's like an inappropriate word or anything. So it depends on if it's gonna affect people or your real life from being in the virtual place, or also how greatly it's gonna affect the real world.
Yeah, that's a really great point, because like people definitely need to make sure that they know the difference between harmless and harmful for situations for them. And like, say you're playing a game, then you can totally use like a fake name or something like that. But say it's something for like a serious occupation that you're going to go into, then you probably should definitely use your real name. So it's just a situation of knowing when to use your real name and not.
I think we all need to realize, and as we're talking, that a persona is just that, a persona. So when we see on social media all these people posting, we shouldn't make direct comparisons with these people to ourselves, because, as all of you said, making a persona, a new personality for yourself online is quite easy. So it sometimes we forget that, and we compare ourselves with celebrities who it's their job to look good, to have these resources to post a filtered photo, and it's not that they look like that in real life. It's a persona. It's what they need to keep up with, and it's their image. It's their new identity online. It's not who they actually are. It's not what their life actually is. It's just the highlight reels of their life. Another thing I would also like to add to that is that if you do not want a social media presence, you can easily private your accounts. But I always like to think of social media as my own personal portfolio. That way, if I achieve something, or if I'm a part of a social justice initiative, for instance, I can post that on my social media, and in the future, it will act as a way to gravitate people who want to collaborate with me. It's a really great way to attach your name to something good that you're doing. And I think in that way, you should definitely be your authentic self online.
Yeah, mine just kind of almost repeating what everyone else is saying, but I definitely think it also depends on the situation most of the time. Like, if you're pretending to be a whole different person, like someone who you're completely not, and that's not really, I don't think that's really okay. Or if you're being anonymous just to like get away with things, like be mean to someone or something, I don't think that's really okay either. But if you're just doing like a username for YouTube or something like that, or games, I guess, so if you want to keep anonymous for your safety, I think that's fine.
And just before we head to the next question, Matthew, is there anything you would like to add to what we've said already?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I really did want to echo the point that you raised about remembering not just to be honest online, but to be your authentic self. To remember that the grass is always greener on the other side. Even when it's our friends that we're seeing on social media, we tend to see only the good stuff. We see, we're careful to only post the jokes that we're pretty sure are funny. Whereas in real life, of course, in offline, you hear the unfunny ones too. We mostly post about good things. We mostly post photos that make us look good. So we do have to remember that everybody is doing that, and to not compare those highlights to the reality of our own lives. But also there is evidence that if we are honest online, if we actually do post the bad things that happen to us, if we do post, we don't take forever picking the exact right photo. If we just take a photo and post it, it's actually a more healthful way to use social media. In terms of the bigger question, or the more specific question about using a false name or pretending to be someone else, I think the real question is why you're doing it. So if you're doing it to protect your own privacy or to keep yourself safe, then it's generally fine. If you're doing it to fool somebody, if you're doing it to trick somebody, if you're doing it to get access to something you shouldn't be able to have access to yet, then it's a little bit more of a problem. And sometimes it can be a really bad idea. So one of the questions you want to ask is, how public is this going to be, or how public could this be? So if you're using something like YouTube or TikTok, where it's possible that a lot of people might see what you post, and that it might be visible a long time from now, then it makes sense to not use your exact real name. Because even if you're really happy about a video going viral right now, 5 years from now, it might be kind of embarrassing. So what you can do is you can choose something that's not hiding, but where you can change it to something more accurate later. So for instance, post under a nickname that people use for you so that your friends will recognize that it's you. Use your first and your middle name rather than your first and your last name, or your middle name and your last name, but some combination where it's clear you're not pretending to be someone that you're not, but also if at a certain point you want to leave that behind, you don't want that to be tracked to you, you can change your mind. One of the other things to think about too is who you're lying to. Are you lying essentially to the audience, to the other people who are going to see the post, or are you lying to the company where you're making the account? Because that's a big difference. Because if, for instance, you lie about your age, if you do anything when you're setting up the account that is not accurate, then you lose some of the protections that you get. So there are, for instance, on most social networks, there are special protections for users between 13 and 18. If you lie about your age and you say that you're 25 or whatever, you don't get those protections. And if you ever have an issue with an account, if someone else takes over the account somehow and you want to get it shut down, if you weren't honest while you were setting it up, then you're going to have problems because you didn't properly set up the account. So the thing to do is to give accurate information when you're setting up, but also don't give any more information than you have to, because there's no reason social networks have to know more about you than they absolutely need to. So look for indications like a star or bold text or something like that that shows the information that you absolutely have to give when you're signing up. Just give that, give it accurately, and then you can usually set things different for your display name or your handle or whatever else it is that other users will see. Usually you can be a little bit less strict about that.
Thank you for all your feedback and for your advice. It's really important, as you said, to be very conscious of what you're posting, to be cautious as well. To be mindful of your footprint, because I think one of the comments said, once it's out there, you can't ever get it back. So you need to be careful the first time, as opposed to experiencing the repercussions after that. So I'll pass it on to Ethan for the last question.
So our third question, which was touched on by Michael earlier, is why is it important that other people have their social medias monitored? Why is it important that younger people have their social medias monitored by other parents?
So there's a lot of people on social media who are there to attack young kids and teens. Like, that's the only reason they're on there. And so I think it's important that parents are monitoring their the kids' social media, so that if something like they get attacked on social media, or like they get a DM from someone and they don't know them, is going to happen, it's best that your parents handle it and not you, because you might not know exactly what to do in that situation. In some cases, things like that could be taken to court, and you might not know the actual legal obligations that they have versus you have, or legal rights that they have versus you have. So yeah, it's just better if parents are monitoring it, so that there's a situation that they need to handle yeah, they're able to handle it in the right way.
Yeah, so I agree, but it's sometimes for some things you don't need to have your have your child's computer or a little sibling's computer monitored for things that like games, but like public things you probably want to have the more younger people monitored, so nothing happens that's unfortunate, and it's important to have um eh, it's important to have people who are not as uh, people who don't know as much as us about the social media and online games and public privacy. So for public things, I think you should have younger people monitored.
I just have one thing to add to Hasani. I just feel like the most important thing is that it depends on the child's age. Like if they're really young, then they'll go around clicking links and anything that appeals to them. So first of all, I feel like it's security. So I think this is the most important topic based on that. It links to the first one about cybersecurity, along with if they're a little bit older aged, not like watching like baby channels, then cyberbullying can also be a big problem. So and some children, they're not going to admit that their feelings are hurt or something bad's happening. So yeah, it's important to monitor young people's social media to make sure like cyberbullying isn't a problem, and just for their own safety as well as others, because they can also be cyberbullying others.
Yeah, I'd really like to just quickly add, like real briefly, that it really matters on what age and in what context and who they're talking to. If it's a close friend that the parent knows and that the kid has known for a long time, then the parents surely don't need to be monitoring that or being like, yeah, you can't talk to this person right now because I'm not watching what you're saying. But yeah, for new people, strangers, parents should always be monitoring that. Social media, at a certain age, they shouldn't even have social media. It's just there's a really fine balancing between having too much control over your kids who are going to think, oh, I need to find a way to actually be able to talk to these people because I can't talk to these people, but I really want to talk to these people. And suddenly you're in a loop of fighting with your kids. You have to find that fine balance of controlling and making sure they're safe and letting them actually have a bit of control over what they can do.
I'm just going to add a couple of quick things before we wrap up. And that is, when you're using a social network account, if you're under 13, then it should be a shared account with a parent. So that's not an issue about supervision because you actually have the same account. And then that's absolutely fine for parents and kids to have shared accounts. It's a great way to get started using social media. After that, we really don't actually recommend that parents watch what kids are doing all the time. We don't recommend generally the use of spy software or monitoring. We don't recommend that parents keep a really close eye on everything that kids do online, because kids do need to develop freedom, and they also need to feel that they can trust their parents, and parents need to feel that they can trust their kids. So what we do recommend, first of all, is that parents be really clear with their kids about the rules that they expect them to follow when they're online. Both rules in terms of the ways you keep yourself safe, and also the rules in terms of how you treat other people and what kinds of sites it's okay to visit and what kinds of sites it's not okay to visit and things like that. And of course, the number one rule should always be that when something goes wrong, kids should come to their parents and tell them, and the parents need to promise that they're not going to freak out about it. And the other thing that parents can do is whenever your kids get a new social network account, just get the login information, get the password, get the username, and just put it in a box somewhere and say, I'm not going to check up on you every day, but I reserve the right to log into this account if I think I need to. And we know that in a lot of cases, kids really appreciate knowing that they have that as a backup.
Yes, thank you, Matt. That it's really important to remember for parents and for kids. I'd like to thank you, everybody, for joining our Global Ed Student Chat this month, our Tweet and Talk. Thank you to all our student leadership teams and our guests, and thank you especially to Matt for being our expert. Please keep in mind that you can keep the conversation going by answering our slow chat questions for the rest of the month. Please ensure to use our hashtag Global Ed Student Chat, so our team can interact with you and other people can see what you have to say. Feel free to also share on our Flipgrid. The grid code and password are both Global Ed Student Chat, all lowercase. Please follow us on all our social media accounts. They're all just globaledstudentchat.com or at Global Ed Student Chat. We're also on Instagram and Twitter. Watch for details about our next month's chat. It will be posted on our website the first of each month. The next live chat happens May 11th, and we'll be talking about mental health in unpredictable times. Please note we're currently recruiting members for our social media ambassador program. We are always looking for students who are looking to grow as digital leaders. Information about our social media ambassador program can be found on globaledstudentchat.com. Please send us an email or a DM for more information. Thank you again for joining us. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.